Mining heavyweights from across the country met at Pakolban today for a work safety conference. But in addition to occupational health and safety issues, there was another big topic being discussed: the impact the Commonwealth's Henry Review could have on the industry. Dr Nikki Williams says taxing super profits to raise an additional $9 billion a year could devastate future projects earmarked for the Hunter Valley.
To see anything that might affect our potential and planned projects, and there are $17 billion worth of projects on the books at the moment. That's a great concern in terms of the future expansion and development of the industry.
But the tax won't only affect new and proposed projects, it will also affect existing mines.
It has to lead to a question mark about the viability of at least some of those operations. So whilst the numbers are being crunched now and people are trying to understand, there is clearly a very great concern that it may lead to the closure of some mines here in the Hunter Valley.
Madeline Bond, NBN News. The protests started at dawn in anticipation of Newcastle's third coal loader officially coming online. An as yet unnamed group painted "Quit Coal" on the side of this coal ship docked at the new loader, while around 100 workers and union representatives rallied outside Newcastle Coal Infrastructure Group. The third coal loader's 21 employees are paid 17% less than those working next door at Port Waratah and have less long service leave, holiday loading and allowances.
Thousands of dollars a year less to everybody in this community from BHP, who rips billions of dollars out of the Hunter community from our resources that every Australian owns.
Unions claim workers were forced to sign workplace agreements days before work choices was abolished.
These people, like thieves in the night, and got a small group of workers in an area of high unemployment and forced through the agreement. I mean, workers deserve better than that.
The revelation spurred a mass political and community boycott of official proceedings. Madeline Bond, NBN News.
Coal has been flowing through the new billion-dollar terminal for over a week now, but an official switching on was staged today for invited guests, some of whom were conspicuous by their absence.
Support the piece of infrastructure. I don't support the industrial relations arrangement that goes with it.
The snub by the Premier and other elected representatives was a touchy subject for the NCIG chairman.
I told you that we would here to celebrate the opening of this, not to have an industrial relations discussion.
He says the loader's 5-year work choices deal is perfectly legal.
This agreement has been approved and registered with the relevant authorities under the laws in place at that time.
After the earlier protest, a small army of police patrolled the site, while visitors were driven in coaches to inspect the giant stacker reclaimers, which can scoop up 10,000 tonnes of coal an hour to load onto the ships. The new terminal will handle 30 million tonnes of coal a year.
And this is just stage one. NCIG already has government approval to develop this terminal to an annual capacity of 66 million tonnes.
6 coal companies, including BHP Billiton, have paid for the venture, which will ship coal mined in the Hunter and Gunnedah regions. Less than 50 people are needed to operate the terminal, but hundreds more will have jobs for several years, building stages 2 and 3. Paul Lobb, NBN News.
It wasn't quite walking a mile in their shoes, but Christina Keneally could certainly appreciate the gripes of locals after experiencing the Cardiff Station stairs. The Premier reinforcing a weekend announcement of a major facelift to come.
The state government will invest $6.5 million into an upgrade here at Cardiff Station.
The station users are happy, and no wonder they've campaigned for decades for better and safer access. Brian Young collected 10,000 signatures on a petition.
It's been 9 years trying to get things going. I'm a very happy person today. I'm on cloud 9 actually.
The upgrade will include the installation of 2 lifts, an extension of the footbridge, a ramp and additional CCTV and lighting. It may have taken years to reach this point, but the Premier says work will begin soon.
We have an extensive program of rolling out Here comes the train.
And barring interruptions, it should be complete by the end of 2012.
Here at Cardiff, clearly the time had come. The need was great. The community's voice was strong.
The government hopes the upgraded facilities will also encourage more people to travel by train.
The baby of the team and in his first rep side, Jamal Idris already feels right at home with the country team at Port Macquarie, and so he should. Growing up at nearby Foster means Friday's match is almost a home game, but that's not always a good thing.
I've got a lot of friends asking me for tickets already, and a lot of my family members. My dad said, if I can get him 2 tickets. So, even my dad's pushing for tickets.
Only days ago, the hulking Bulldogs centre shared a running battle with veteran heel Tamana Tahu in their one-on-one duel at club level, which Idris really enjoyed. Now country teammates, it's friendly fire.
Me and T actually were good friends, but I said to him, hopefully, for roommates, I got the big bed.
Hooker Michael Ennis will continue his own running battle on Friday night with Robbie Farah as they fight for the Blues origin job.
I'm not sure whether they'll pick it just on this game, but if you play well, it certainly helps.
Greg Bird has embraced his selection like few others. After a few tumultuous years, the Gold Coast Titan has ticked another goal as he rebuilds his career.
It's pretty much a New South Wales origin trial. That was always one of my major goals, to come back and sort of get back in that scene. I didn't really set a time frame with it. I was just looking to get back and play some good footy.
Jim Callanan, NBN News. There's nothing quite like it in sport. The New Zealand haka, a Maori tradition which always invokes passion. And Zeb Taya can't wait to finally do one for real.
I used to just love watching the haka before the game, and I used to just get in front of the TV and just do it myself when I was young. So I guess I've had a lot of practice during my young years.
Just receiving his playing strip, though, will get him going.
I do get really excited about stuff like that. I just got to try and stay relaxed and not try and let all that emotion get in the way of like a good game on Friday night.
Having Junior Sow in the Kiwi camp will help, but with club captain Kurt Gidley also on duty with the Kangaroos, it leaves behind a disruptive week for the Knights, who are simply keen to build on that win in Brisbane.
It's only one, mate. We've got a long way to go to sort of start stringing a few together, but look, one step at a time, we'll get this representative stuff out of the way.
Meanwhile, Matt Hilder is fine to play his former club on Sunday too, after being cleared of further punishment for this tackle on Israel Folau.
What we're doing today will apply to any emergency that may happen in the Maitland local government area, so it could be a bushfire or an earthquake or anything similar.
It's a very dangerous swell when swells are coming through, and you can tell just by standing on the cliff here, if there's any swell there, you just don't bother going down there.
Before we go any further, let's get the fish measuring sticker controversy out of the way. Angler Steve Dial told the inquiry at Shoal Bay today that the stickers handed out by the Fisheries Department with a ruler printed on them are short by as much as a centimetre.
You grab this sticker and you come along and they say to you, hey mate, give us a look at your catch. They pull out their tape measure. Hey, this is undersized. Hey, but I measured it on your sticker. Oh, that's not a legal length of measure here. Here's a fine, mate, pay it.
The Select Committee is taking submissions on how the fishing licence system and marine parks are working. Lake Macquarie's Bob Penfold asked that all commercial fishing be stopped.
And all they need to do is take those professional fishing licences off all the estuaries, rivers and lakes along the coast, and that's all they need to do. The environment can look after itself if they return it to nature and only allow amateur fishermen to catch their limited bag limits and limited size limits.
Inquiry Chair, Shooters Party MP Robert Brown says marine parks have been a major topic.
Some of the marine park processes have had adequate consultation and the fishers are a lot happier than in other areas where it appears to have been rushed.
The inquiry moves to Port Macquarie tomorrow. Paul Lobb, NBN News.
This week's conference is all about reviving the Anglican Church by encouraging its clergy to try something new. Keynote speaker Alice Mann says the church needs to be more flexible if it's going to reach the community.
If we just stay stuck in repeating what we've always done because we've always done it, then that tends to block us off progressively from the life of the community because the community is changing.
Bishop Brian Farron says congregation numbers are steady locally, but he wants to see them grow. He says to do that, the church needs to not only change its attitudes and expectations, but also improve its image, which has been tarnished by revelations of sexual abuse.
Yeah, the image is suffering, and I'm very conscious of that. I recognise that many people may have actually lost trust in us, and therefore, however we respond to that must be totally transparent.
The Catholic Church is experiencing similar problems also due to child abuse scandals.
The community's taken a battering. I think that there are a number of people who've walked away.
Tonight, the local diocese is holding its 7th Insights gathering at the St Lawrence Centre at Broadmeadow.
For many people it's becoming more and more irrelevant, and yet there's a deep hunger there, and generally people are looking for some sort of spiritual nourishment, but it's not where they've traditionally found it.
Tonight's meeting will allow churchgoers and the broader community to share their feelings about the impact of sexual abuse by some Catholic clergy and the devastating effect on the young victims.
I'm also concerned for the actual perpetrators, for the priests. I think what has happened to them? Why is this so? And I like everybody else, is still struggling to understand what that is about.
Home to 1.4 million canine companions, New South Wales certainly is a dog-loving state. Last year, the state government and Newcastle City Council banned pooches from cafes and outdoor dining areas, but Parliament is now considering a bill that would overturn that decision.
Dogs being allowed to be within outdoor dining areas, provided that they're kept on a lead, they remain on the ground and that they're not fed.
And that's got Newcastle's eateries a little excited.
It's welcoming news if you're a dog hunter. We have plenty that come to the cafe, so we've always been a dog-friendly restaurant cafe. So, yeah, looking forward to the change, I guess.
I think it's about time the government come away with this. Dogs are a very social thing. People come along with their dogs, they're very well behaved, and it's just great to see them back.
Alistair Crombie says since the ban was introduced in January last year, he's lost customers.
People were a bit cautious, they'll come along, they'd have a look and they'd go, well, I can't stay for my coffee.
The government is expected to debate the legislation this month, and if it's approved, the ban could be lifted as early as June. But until then...
Dog owners face a fine of $220 if their dogs are within an outdoor dining area or other prohibited areas across the city.
Madeline Bond, NBN News.
A cookhouse and a women's wing once stood on this grassed area. Now, 30 years after they were torn down, archaeologist Paul Reinberger is digging for their footings, but he's found part of only one.
I think when the buildings came down, there was an attempt made to salvage all the stone.
But that one footing is enough to determine exactly where the building stood for 150 years.
We've found enough to allow us to extrapolate where this building was, which is the purpose of the exercise really.
Original sandstone from the buildings will replace the tape to map them out.
Concrete pavers will be used as well, just to show on ground what these buildings and how big these buildings were.
The jail's Gordon Sorber says the interpretation will help visitors get a better feel for its history.
People will understand that this grassed area that they can see now is really quite modern and is not a very appropriate portrayal of what was here for over 100 years previously.
A date brick from the cookhouse chimney found at the nearby barracks only a couple of weeks ago will also be part of the exhibit. The dig will wind up tomorrow with the exhibit to be ready for visitors by September. Lauren Bladwell, NBN News.
There was no hiding at Knights training today. Long and intense, they gave plenty to each other, while referees chipped in to create a match-like atmosphere. But it was the coach carrying the bigger stick. Almost no one was missed.
He was getting pretty angry there, which so he should be, it's his job to get up us and test us out.
Yeah, we had to crack the whip a little bit, where there's a couple of things that we've made a bit of a pact to ourselves that we're going to improve.
Hilda had every reason to feel it today. He's been playing with a fracture in his wrist for the best part of 2 months.
Sort of, if it gets hit every now and again, it's a bit sore for a couple of minutes and then it sort of goes away. So I don't want to miss a game, the one you miss you can't get back really.
Scott Giroux has retained the halfback role against the Titans, while Steve Simpson still has to prove his fitness ahead of Sunday's match. Although hopeful of their 3 test stars backing up after Friday night, plans are in place, with the likes of Shannon McDonnell on standby.
Yeah, I've got some high hopes of Shannon playing a role in the NRL squad this week.
It's football, just not as you know it. Known as street style or freestyle football to the purist, Newcastle's Chris Bevan is the best in Australia. Like most things these days, Chris found it while surfing the internet, but the backyard replaced computer time from then on as he practiced to make perfect, and everyone's been getting a kick out of it.
Travelled all over Australia filming commercials. I've done performances on live TV, and and now I've travelled all the way to South Africa.
That was for the World Championships, where the best freestylers strutted their stuff, and the biggest trick is to make it look easy. Chris didn't reach the finals, but returned inspired.
If I'm doing it somewhere and someone stops and they're impressed by it and they say, wow, that's amazing, that's the reason I do it. The feeling you get from that is just fantastic. I'm a bit of a show-off, so yeah.
He's already racking up the credits, having starred in marketing campaigns from Australia's World Cup bid to football programs. But TV shows or not, Chris will be doing this for as long as he can. It's hard to argue. Jim Callanan, NBN News.
I didn't even prepare a speech or anything like that. I really was surprised. I was surprised I was even a finalist, so it was good, yeah.
They're our eyes in the sky, designed to cruise 12 kilometres above ground using a high-powered radar to view air and sea contacts over an area of 4,000 square kilometres. The Boeing Wedgetail aircraft, with its distinctive dorsal fin radar antenna, is the first of its kind and won't be fully operational for another year. But 2 of the planned 6 were commissioned today into No. 2 Squadron.
These aircraft will be based here at RAF Base Williamtown, supporting about 100 jobs in this area.
Training exercises with the new aircraft are set to begin within days.
Our crews have already got a mission planned, and you will start to see Wedgetail aircraft operating in RAF livery over the skies of Newcastle from Friday of this week.
Meantime, the Air Force says there'll be no closure of the controversial Salt Ash weapons range until at least 2025, as it'll be used by the Hawk trainers and Hornet fighters.
If we close the range, that would question the viability of the base, I think, at the moment, because the Hawk does need to do that type of training with the systems that it has.
Paul Lobb, NBN News. Westpac currently operates 3 rescue helicopters in conjunction with the Ambulance Service of New South Wales. 2 are based in Newcastle and 1 in Tamworth. A 4th machine will not only improve the service's reliability, but also allow a 2nd aircraft to be permanently based in the northwest of the state.
If there's one thing that we're driven by, it's our availability to the system, and this will mean that our engineers will have plenty of time to work on the spare machine, and if one's broken, we'll just be able to roll out another one of the same capacity.
A worldwide search is now underway for a suitable Bell 412 like this one. Meantime, after 30 years with the service, Crew Chief Graham Nickerson is passing the top job to Pete Cummings.
I'll be back doing what I love doing, and that's flying in the helicopter and acting as an air crewman, which I've done for many years. So there's a real passion doing that and helping people. So I mean, that's why I started with the service, and I hope to be doing that for a long time to come.
I've been here for 20 years now, so I think I've got the experience and the know-how and that to take the crew further on.
Paul Lobb, NBN News.
There's no denying it. Nathan Dunning is a very lucky boy. After falling off a bunk bed like many children do, Nathan suffered a brain bleed and wasn't expected to live.
The neurologist had to question with other neurologists because they hadn't seen anyone survive a level of injury like Nathan did.
But Nathan had other ideas. After waking from a 6-week coma, he spent the next 490 days in hospital, and today he's well enough to go home.
It encompasses quite a lot of people with every patient that's in, but yeah, particularly with Nathan, yeah, he has had a very big team behind him the whole time.
Leaving the hospital and getting into the car, he couldn't get rid of us quick enough. And is it any wonder when this is the reaction he got when arriving home? The 6 siblings together again to share a cake. Wrong song, but right sentiment. Nathan still has a long journey ahead of him with regular physiotherapy and rehabilitation, but he'll now go through it all surrounded by his loving family members, and perhaps that's the best rehab of all.
Nathan's actually begun to voice words very softly but very deliberate words since he's come home this afternoon, which is probably the highlight of my day, more than him even coming home, so that's pretty incredible.
And there's sure to be more progress to come. Kate Mitchell, NBN News.
With several players backing up from rep duty, the return of Steve Simpson would provide a timely boost. The veteran forward will have the final say.
Thought I was pretty well right to go into Cronulla's game. It's still a little bit sore, but it obviously wasn't. So it's one of them injuries that I don't really want it to linger around for too much longer.
No such problems for Scott Duro. Following his late inclusion against the Broncos, the halfback is looking to improve his combination with Jared Mullen, after what he described as their best performance together this season.
Our communication was really good, and I think across the park the communication from me to everyone was better than what it's been.
Shannon McDonnell remains on standby, but that won't change his preparation.
You've got to prepare like you're in for a game every week and sort of keep that through the season. Otherwise, if you drop off, you start slipping. So, no, I just prepare the same that I have every week.
As for the visiting team, Knights players will be showing the Titans plenty of respect.
I think they're one of the best sides in the comp by far this year. You know, they're so consistent, they work hard for each other, they do all the little things right.
On the Gold Coast, halfback Scott Prince is still less than 100%. He missed today's session to travel to Sydney to have a stronger cast fitted for his thumb. Former Knight turned Titans forward Matt White is looking forward to facing his former teammates.
I might talk to him later in the week and just show him up a bit, I suppose.
Mitchell Hughes, NBN News. It's the biggest event on the Australian BMX calendar, the title every elite rider in the country wants to win. This year, they're all gunning for Lake Macquarie's Billy Jolliffe.
Oh, it's not too much pressure. I've been racing for like 20 years now, so it sort of like comes natural. It's a bit nerve-wracking on the day when you go up to the final and get on the gate.
Jolliffe says another year on the pedals makes him even more dangerous this time around. Add to that a smooth, injury-free run lately, and the 23-year-old also believes he's hitting peak fitness.
It's a real long track compared to some other tracks. They're real short and that, so it's more a lot of fitness.
Another win at the national titles would make him even harder to overlook when it comes to selecting Australia's team for the 2012 London Olympics, a goal which is clearly high on Billy's list of priorities.
If you don't win, there's a lot of other races before the Olympics. You got a lot of supercrosses overseas now. You got the world titles you can fall back on.
If all goes according to plan, Jolliffe will defend his title in the elite final on Saturday. Fellow Lake Macquarie rider Rachel Jones is also hoping to reclaim her under-15 national crown. Mitchell Hughes, NBN News.
There is no evidence of any corrupt behaviour here, but what there is evidence of is breaches of the simple rule that you cannot bet on AFL matches.
This is all that's left of Butter Chicken Indian restaurant, a shell filled with debris and twisted metal. Fire broke out inside the empty eatery at 1:30 this morning, and when fire crews arrived, there wasn't much they could do.
That restaurant has been severely damaged by fire, with the adjoining shop to the left also receiving fire damage. But the fire was contained to the ground level with no fire damage to the upper levels.
Investigators spent the day sifting through the ashes, and at this stage it doesn't appear to be suspicious.
The origin of the fire is still being determined, with New South Wales Fire Brigade's Fire Investigation Unit working in association with the police.
The fire was so intense the restaurant's air conditioning units were sent out onto the footpaths as the windows shattered, sending shards of glass across the street. The neighbouring not-for-profit youth organisation is counting the costs as well.
Looking sort of through the window, we're expecting that a lot of resources that we've taken a lot of years to build up to help young people are going to be gone.
Meanwhile, build a new Rutherford estate caused a scare today, rupturing a gas pipe. It caused a fire at this transformer. The fire brigade could only douse the fumes while they waited for the gas company to turn off the supply. No one was injured. Kate Mitchell, NBN News.
would-be thieves and robbers and burglars, if they know that the police...
It's good for the industry in total. There's a lot of ancillary work for marine side businesses to do. We're being called down to do a bit of work on boats as well.
Paul Lobb, NBN News.
She's just 15, but Ashley Grace's music shows a maturity The singer-songwriter is one of 6 finalists in Youth Rock and the Black Dog. Up-and-coming band The Chestnuts is another contender to have impressed judges.
They're absolutely amazed at the calibre of musicians for 16-year-olds to be able to perform at this high standard.
Organised by the Hunter Institute of Mental Health, the event aims to raise awareness while unearthing young musical talent.
I think through arts and music is a good opportunity for them to get out there and you know, let the world or people know what's going on and how they feel.
Performer K-Square has his take. The final will be staged at the Loft Youth venue on May 21. Music with a message.
You know, destigmatisation, you know, get out there, talk to people, talk to your friends, talk to your family, talk to teachers, talk to whoever, you know, just talk to someone, I suppose.
It's a trip of a lifetime that's taken 2 years to plan. Now, just a few days out from their departure, the boys from right around the block were today getting in some last-minute preparation and practice. This Sunday, they'll do a special lap around Energy Australia Stadium prior to kick-off between the Knights and the Titans, before embarking on a 6-week journey around the country. All the while raising money for the Cancer Council.
Yeah, I mean, we've all lost relatives and friends to cancer. It's a huge killer, and yeah, that was certainly a motivating factor for sure.
With more than 16,000 kilometres in front of them, the group is aiming to raise more than $80,000.
So far, we've raised approximately $40,000, and yeah, we've had some great sponsors come on board and help us out.
The only problem might be deciding which parts of Australia deserve more time and attention.
I'd really like to see the western part of the country. It's kind of seems quite remote, and don't get an opportunity to go there too often. And obviously places like Ayers Rock are going to be great to have a look at.
With several Patriotic Knights fans in the group, the boys are hoping to arrive back in Newcastle for the clash with the Eels on Monday the 21st of June. Mitchell Hughes, NBN News. The country team camp has almost doubled as a Hunter Rugby League reunion. From Toronto boy Willie Mason.
It's good to come out to the country, to the grassroots, and and see how much the kids who actually really love rugby league players and love rugby league.
To the Eels, Luke Burt.
Yeah, plenty of Valentine boys here. I started my time up at Dudley, but yeah, ended up over at Valentine for a few years, and yeah, there's plenty of us from Newcastle.
For Burt, a country call-up has been a long time coming.
To be honest with you, I'd probably give up on it a bit, and yeah, when I was told it was a bit of a shock, but yeah, I'm a very, very happy man on Sunday afternoon.
Fellow Valentine junior Michael Ennis will square off against City's Robbie Farah for the New South Wales hooking role.
And when you haven't won the series, I suppose there's, they're looking at everyone, so it's always an opportunity there, and fingers crossed on Friday night I can make the most of it.
Maitland junior Greg Bird didn't expect to be back on the rep scene so soon, but he's also got his eyes on a blue jumper.
The Australian
halves are both Queenslanders, so pretty much all the halves are going to be picked out of this game. So we'll definitely be treating it that way.
Former Hunter Sports High student Cade Snowden is simply happy to be here.
At the start of the year, it was my #1 goal, just to make the countryside, and then wherever I go from there will be good. Yeah.
Central Charlestown junior Tamana Tahu believes country has the right mix to reverse last year's embarrassing result.
It's hard to come in just for 1 week and be best mates, but being country boys, everyone's laid back and everyone gets along real well.
Mitchell Hughes, NBN News.
A live symphony orchestra evokes magic in people of all ages, and the Sydney Symphonia had these kinder to Year 4 pupils under its spell. Littlies from across the Hunter had the chance to see the orchestra in the flesh today, and their reactions said it all.
I don't see many orchestras, so that's probably the best one I've seen.
They were introduced to the musicians and their instruments and seemed enthralled.
Some of these students have never seen a trumpet before or seen a French horn before, or let alone a full orchestra. So it's great to present this music to them and somehow demystify it for them.
One lucky youngster, little Owen from the Newcastle Grammar School, was the envy of his classmates.
It was good fun and the orchestra followed him, so maybe he's got some potential there.
Paul Lobb, NBN News.
Tributes for a life cut short. Friends of Griffin Hayes shared their grief on Facebook today, describing the former Cardiff High School student as a great bloke taken before his time. The circumstances surrounding his death are unclear. The 18-year-old's body was found on train tracks yesterday morning, suffering severe injuries. Police are investigating the possibility he was train surfing and are desperate to speak to possible witnesses. What is clear is that the teenager was loved, with his loss felt right across the community.
I certainly had a great circle of friends who he spent a lot of time with, and they just speak so highly of him in terms of his friendship and his sincerity and his genuineness. Loved his surfing and a great athlete.
The Hunter basketball community has banded together to support Griffin's famous father. For so many years, Butch Hayes has been the face of the sport in the region. The former Falcons player and ex-part owner of the Pirates, Butch still plays with the Maitland Mustangs.
When you live together practically for a long period of time, you grow affection for each other. So there's a lot of support there for him, and the basketball community of Newcastle and the Hunter, including Maitland, it's a tight one.
Griffin will be farewelled at a funeral service on Wednesday.
Butch, in his role here at Lifestyle Solutions, has worked with countless young people, and now he's got to deal with how he misses his own son.
His AFL teammates will also pay tribute to their mate.
we'll certainly honour him tomorrow with black armbands, and the club will send him off. So.
Kate Mitchell, NBN News. There's no doubting Adam Weaver left a big impression during his 37 years.
The world has lost a great man.
Through his tireless fundraising efforts, the father of three helped save the lives of hundreds of children.
He was a passionate person. Whatever he did with all his heart and soul. And this reflected in the fundraising that he was able to do for the John Hunter Children's Hospital.
Adam's pet project was the Kilometres for Kids charity bike ride, which he started in 2006. In August, NBN captured the last leg of what would be Adam's final 700-kilometre journey from the Gold Coast to Newcastle. That ride alone, he helped raise $100,000 for the John Hunter Children's Hospital. That generosity and passion for life was today celebrated by Adam's family and friends, hundreds spilling onto the street to say goodbye to the man with a huge heart. Adam leaves behind his wife Melissa and children Tyler, Ebony and Riley, who were sure to help make this year's Kilometres for Kids the most successful in memory of their husband and dad. Lauren Bladwell, NBN News.
Getting a job in the Hunter has rarely been as easy, according to the Hunter Valley Research Foundation's March quarter economic indicators. The Hunter's business leaders were told this morning employment growth is up a whopping 9.8% on the same time last year, with 310,000 people across the Hunter holding down a job. That means employment is now back to where it was prior to the global financial crisis.
We lost around 20,000 positions during the crisis, and we've pretty much regained them all. It was part-time casual labour that really pulled the brunt of the downturn, and they've really been effectively re-employed.
The buoyancy in the economy is being helped by the mining boom. High demand for energy across Asia, fueling more capital spending in the coal chain.
Commodities continues to shape the landscape, both nationally and to some extent regionally as well.
But there's caution on two fronts. Concerns over the effect the end of the Rudd government's stimulus money will have, especially on the construction industry, and interest rates. If you were hoping this week's rate hike was the last, think again.
The current standard mortgage rate, which is approximately 7.3%, will probably move up another 0.5%, so it'll be close to 8% by the end of this year.
Blake Doyle, NBN News.
Nine-week-old Luke is Tanya and Mike Craft's miracle baby.
He's an absolute delight, and we're just very, very lucky.
Tanya found out she was expecting her first child 48 hours after being told the devastating news she had breast cancer.
They're two very different journeys. One's a very sad journey and a really difficult one, and one's a happy one, and they're running together is pretty tough emotionally and physically.
Tanya's story is just one of 10 told through the Imagine a Life Without Illness exhibition. Hers ends well, but 6 of the women photographed have since lost their battle with cancer. Photographer Eddie Cross says all of them were an inspiration.
Very empowering when you photograph and deal with people in a life-threatening illness situation, because they get the true essence of life and love and happiness.
The exhibition at the King and Parry Gallery is raising money for cancer research.
We set a target of trying to raise $5,000, and at the moment, well, it's before opening night now, and I've already raised just over $6,000.
Lauren Bladwell, NBN News.
In other segments, there's original songs written by students who have come and auditioned for the show, so it's great to hear their original music.
Newcastle's inconsistency this season has been the most consistent part of their game, and they've gone to great lengths to iron that out.
A lot comes down to attitude and response to adversity, so we're just talking about some of those particular things.
Still, it hasn't been missed by their opposition, who are convinced Newcastle remains vulnerable.
At stages through a match, they're pretty ill-disciplined, so it's important for us to work hard defensively.
Prince can expect plenty of that himself, with Newcastle planning to throw lots of work his way, considering he's still far from 100% fit, just one game back from a broken thumb.
They've got a few more players than Scotty Prince, but obviously he's the architect of what they do. And look, being physical with him when it's appropriate would be a good start for us.
Hopeful of his test trio backing up, Stone is still to declare Steve Simpson a starter for Sunday.
It might come down to how Zeb gets through the test match too, whether he backs up and depending on what sort of strength and depth we've got in the back row there.
Inspiration to perform may come from elsewhere this weekend, after players visited John Hunter Hospital today to support the Starlight Children Foundation. It's been almost a month and a well-deserved overseas holiday since James Christie ran across the Sahara Desert, and while his body is almost healed, the memories remain.
During some of the stages of the runs, I went into bad places, and you have to be not only 100% fit, but you have to be 100% mentally fit.
When you consider Christie ran for 7 days across 250 kilometres of the Sahara Desert in temperatures clearing 50 degrees, there was little escaping those bad places. From lugging your own supplies to dealing with the heat and medical issues, the finish line was a relief, and for Christie, a rewarding 97th place in a field of just over 1,000.
I was in tears. It was jubilation, but it's also quite sad because it's 2.5 years in the preparation it's been so, and now it's finished.
While he can rest. Another's sporting quest hits its peak this weekend in Sydney. Newcastle's Peter Maxwell is the state CrossFit champion and hopes to be crowned Australia's best.
Basically been a full year of training for this, and we train twice a day, 6 days a week, and train once a day on Sunday.
An American-designed training system, CrossFit combines gymnastics and Olympic weightlifting with elements of track and field, with the best this weekend to then represent Australia at the World Games in July.
There's going to be a bit of tension down there for sure, so not everyone will be hoping I do well.
Jim Callanan, NBN News.